So here we are and the system is broke. American dream has gone up in smoke. So stop sitting there all broken hearted. Let's get this motherfucking party started. Lady Liberty is ringing a bell, and we're driving us straight into hell. But don't worry, we got what you need. Crank up the volume till your eardrums bleed. Gonna make America, America again.
This is the A Better Way to a podcast.
Yeah.
We are your hosts, Jordan and Andrew. I'm Jordan. He's Andrew. Today we are here with Leo and Smedley Butler's ghost. That is his real birth certificate name that his mother gave him.
Don't question
They are
it.
from the. Yeah, I'm not questioning a thing. They're from the New York chapter of the Socialist Rifle Association, or the SRA. If you're trying to get people to check them out, and you're not really sure where they fall on the political spectrum, I've gotten a lot of people to look at SRA pages. Specifically the Philly SRA one, because they're always doing like the hoagies for the homies or whatever it is. I'll send somebody who's not, far right, but is not a leftist by any means, or even really like center, that, and they'll be like, yeah, that's awesome. And I'll be like, they're socialists, or they're part of the SRA. I don't know if everybody's a socialist, and it's opened up a lot of, I think, at least a few people's minds to it. But anyway, this is them. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
More specifically, we're the Upstate New York chapter.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We're not like those downstaters.
Yes, basically
Manhattan
NYC and Long Island. Their laws are a completely different mess to ours, so we don't mess
Yeah.
with it.
So it makes sense they have their own
That's sad.
group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And if you guys are listening at home and not watching on the YouTubes, right now you're missing out, because Smedley Butler's ghost is wearing all green. You can tell they're from upstate New York and not the city.
Yeah.
All green with a balaclava. And Leo is wearing. Are you wearing a shema? Is that
No, it's
Is that
just
multiple
it's just a bandana.
But it looks cool. You got like a flat. I'm sorry, I'm looking under my phone, which is my webcam, to see your whole screen.
And it's like going down to like yes.
Hopefully, I
What would
should
you
be
like?
Hopefully, with all this green, I should be camouflaged in front of this.
Yeah, I only see eyes right now.
Yeah, exactly.
But
So what's
Yeah.
the deal? Are you guys socialists? Are you communist? Are you a big tent?
I
Like,
could-
what's going on?
I consider myself a libertarian
tent.
Marxist.
what is
Very
that?
cool.
Can you
I like
explain that?
that.
'Cause I have no idea.
ba-
Those are two things that I don't feel like go together.
Well,
But I don't know.
basically, it's hard to kind of explain, which is why I don't usually say it. Whenever people ask me what I am, I just kind of say, "Oh, I'm a socialist" or whatever. Basically, it's kind of Marxist ideology, more focused through not a Marxist-Leninist lens. So other ideologies like Luxemburgism and so on and so forth. I'm not. Here's the thing: I'm the worst person to ask when it comes to like defining ideology, because I really don't care much. I just kind of care more about praxis than anything. So
Yeah.
when
I
it
hear
comes
ya.
to reading, even though I do have a decent amount of books here, it's been a while since I've read.
No, listen, I wasn't coming at you like explain
Like,
Marxist theory right
explain all
now.
of your-
Like,
no, I
and
just mean
it's-
like as an organization, like what
Yeah, yeah.
what's y'all's approach? Are you like largely socialist, or is it just you just say that to attract like a variety of leftist kind of
Well,
ideologies?
the name Socialist Rifle Association began from like kind of a joke Facebook page, because it's a take on National Rifle Association.
Right.
Then in, I believe, 2018, the group actually formed as a nonprofit group in Kansas. And ever since
That
then, we
young?
just stuck with the name.
I thought it was older than that.
I could be wrong, but I think that's when we fully incorporated.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and then we kept the name since then. But internally, the ideology of the group is very big tent. So we have people from Democratic Socialists, Socialist Communists, Social Democrats, even basically the whole swath of the left is just kind of within the group. As long as you're not a bigot, an asshole, or a person who wants to do crimes, you're welcome in the group, essentially.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
That's kind of what I've been telling people, for when people ask for safe communities to go shoot with. The SRA is usually my go-to. I can count on less than one hand the amount of negative experiences I've had with a chapter
Right.
of the SRA, and that's frankly just because every chapter is individually run by individuals, and occasionally you're going to come into
Yeah.
contact with someone like that you don't agree with.
Jordan, I've found also that when other people, just like, random people I'm talking to about it, have negative experiences with the SRA, it is actually the same experience that a lot of people shared at the same time with very
With the
specific
same chapter?
chapters. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Like-
no.
like-
So largely, I've recommended you guys to people all over the left, and people who I would say are, non-binary, politically speaking. And see what I did there.
That's certainly a way of going about it.
Yeah, just because to me, based on what I've seen from multiple SRA chapters, it seems like a great place to go to meet people who are not going to treat you like shit, and people like you can help your community, shoot guns, and hang out with cool people. That sounds like a cool club to me.
I think what has helped me with the SRA, because I'm definitely a newer member. I've only been in it like 3 or 4 years at this point. Is that like we definitely like internally have our disagreements on like what like policy or what the implications of X and Y are, or like political theory, but we don't lose sight of the bigger picture of like who like the far right are the real problem like in the society, and like coalition building safe communities, mutual aid, gun safety. These are our like big 10 goals. And I think we keep on track with that for the most part. And that's what really kept me sticking around, honestly.
We're first and foremost an educational group. We're here to teach people the basics of gun safety and how to use firearms. So, spending X amount of time squabbling about the most minute, differences that we have with our ideas and saying blasphemy, it's not worth our time.
Right.
We used to have a theory channel in our chats, but we purged that. We purged that like after a few months because it did nothing but cause arguments on top of arguments. So really, we allow debate within the group, but basically just don't be an ass about it, And if you feel like things are going to get heated, take it away. We don't want it,
I was just having this conversation with a coworker last night. Very, very poignant here. Because one of my favorite quotes that kind of describes the like tribalism in the political like discourse arena is that the right looks for converts and the left looks for traitors.
Right.
Because the right will take you in regardless of like how far right you are. Look at specifically Nazi groups. They'll just find somebody from a broken home who might not even be right wing yet, and they'll latch on to them and like, so you don't hate Jews and black people? Well, we can fix that. Whereas somebody from the far left will disagree with somebody on 1% of their ideology, and it's a pissing match. And friendships are broken as a result of it.
It's a problem that's very constant. Purity testing and the idea that you have to have the right opinion there and then or whatever. It's like, look, if that were the case, then I certainly wouldn't be in the position I am now. Back in 2016, I had really, really stupid beliefs about like trans people or whatever. But guess what? I grew. I got into a relationship.
Oh, you're canceled.
I got into a relationship with a trans person. I to know more trans people. And I understood, these are just people and they want to live. Okay. People change. And especially right now, we need to be the arbiters to allow these people to change, prod them with good ideas and challenge them where they need to be challenged. Don't just, outcast them to the wolves and let them take them.
Yeah, honestly,
Of course,
I
that's
think
not
that's
that's
like
not that's not saying that you have to take in every like hardcore racist into your group. Some people
sure.
are just
Yeah.
far gone, you know. But to the
Yeah.
people that you can reach out to, the people that are maybe sliding down that slippery slope that you can lend a hand out to, lend it out, you know. Pull them up and stop them from going down it, you know.
I can attest to this too, because I mean, like, probably like a decade ago, I was like pretty much a chud. Like, I had kind of like reactionary opinions about stuff. I was in some groups that I'm not proud of, you know, but like here I am today, right? And it's because people were willing to give me a chance and let me grow. And I realized the kind of anxieties I had about society and the way things are structured. It was like,
Yeah.
I had a good sense of where things were, but the people I were with weren't telling me the truth. And I
Yeah.
think that's the window that I think we need to get into, is that like, yeah, like things are set up in a way that's unfair to you, but it's not, you know, immigrants or trans people or the
Yeah.
inner cities or whatever narrative they want to tell. It's the capital class. It's people that hold
Oh, yeah.
wealth, people that control the narrative. You know.
Yeah.
So
Leo, when you were in that position, like when you had those beliefs, what got the ball rolling in the opposite direction for you?
honestly, it was like kind of a death by a thousand cuts. I was in like a lot of like kind of right-wing content spaces, and I was never like full on like white supremacist, and I don't like at no point in my time had I ever like sympathized with them. I didn't want anything to do with them. But I noticed these spaces I was in was starting to become like really friendly to them. And I'm like, guys, these are Nazis. Why are we talking to these guys? You know?
Mhm.
That was kind of one of them. And then it was like things like Donald Trump in 2016. Like I knew this guy was trouble, and I knew he was a problem. But everyone just seemed to like fall in line. Like he's like the savior of America. He's gonna fix everything. And it's like he's clearly a douchebag. Like he's not gonna do any of that.
I mean, if you had lived in the state of New York for any amount of time, this guy's reputation was already
Infamous.
set.
Yeah.
You know,
Nobody
this
likes
guy had. Yeah, this guy had slighted every business partner that he had ever been with, so he had to find a new group of rubes. And essentially, there was a large amount outside of the state that he could find, sadly.
Yeah. So I mean it was
Yeah.
like a million little things like that. So and then it culminated in the pandemic where I'm like, oh, well, like it like what was the big thing that broke me was they were having all those kind of like fierce debates about stimulus checks and how much they should cut and what Americans should and shouldn't get it. And like Boeing came cap in hand, like we need like two trillion to not go under. And they're like, yeah, here you go. And it's like, oh, I see how the game's rigged here.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm always just curious because I had a very similar experience where I was farther right than I am now. I don't know. I mean, I deleted my old Facebook when I got my job, thankfully,
Same.
because it was fucking cringy. But I was like, I think I voted for Trump in the first election for him. Because it was him or Hillary. And I voted for the Libertarian, the
Gary
pot guy.
Johnson. Yeah, me too.
Gary
Yes.
Johnson.
I'm sorry.
Gary Johnson, KJ,
I
we
almost
love
just got
KJ.
canceled. But I was
That
so
guy was such an
anti-Hillary that I
idiot.
was posting. I know. I fucking hated it. I
unironically
love him as a
Gary
person.
Johnson.
I love him as a person. I just hated what he did to the Libertarian Party.
Who, Gary
because
Johnson specifically?
No, Gary Johnson almost saved the Libertarian Party. It was the Mises Caucus that wrecked it.
Oh,
No,
yeah, the
I
Mises
know,
Caucus
I know,
just
but-
completely and utterly poisoned that party.
I was just saying, like, the things that he said were almost too relatable
Yeah.
for him talking about.
No,
I forget what
my
interview
favorite-
that
no,
he was
my
on, but
favorite
when the
thing-
guy
my favorite thing
Andrew,
is
shut up. Andrew, sorry. No. And like when he was on that interview with somebody and they were like, "Did you smoke weed?" and he grabbed his chest and fell off the chair. I was like, I fucking love this guy. But it
Yeah,
was like you couldn't have a
he
normal
certainly had a
dude.
charm to him, definitely.
Yeah. But it was just
one thing, I think it was in 2020, the Libertarian Party the Libertarian Party's Twitter account, national account, retweeted like on a something praising the Black Panthers, and the comments were full of right wingers from the party saying, "These people are fucking communists. You can't be saying this about them." Oh, the seething. And also the fact that they kind of maybe screwed Trump in certain key states because of their vote splitting. I don't know. I mean, if that is true, but it certainly pissed off a lot of people, and it was fun to watch at the time. So I'll allow that.
But then you had like the New Hampshire Libertarian Party straight up retweeting the 14 words and shit like that.
Yeah,
so
I don't know who the fuck is in charge of that chapter.
Jeremy Kaufman's
New Hampshire has always been a cesspool when it comes to these kind of people.
The Libertarian Party. Jeremy Kaufman. You can find him on Twitter. You can look at his face. You can see everything that he believes. It's all up front. He's a piece of shit.
There's like an open war between them and the Louisiana chapter.
Yeah. Those guys, no, because Louisiana's based. Them and yeah.
Well, the Libertarian Party, is definitely at odds with like I think the problem with libertarians is like the most honest, best faith, like the real libertarians, not the crypto fascists, but like the ones that really actually believe in libertarianism. I think their heart's in the right place. Like, I don't think they're bad people. I think they mistakenly put their faith in capitalism, like that's going to help at all, and all evidence to the contrary, right? Like, everything that goes wrong in our society today and all of the struggles that people have, like people not being able to afford homes or food or going bankrupt if they get cancer. I mean, at the end of the day, that's because some very small group of people stand to benefit financially very much from that.
So in other words, it's all Ronald Reagan's fault.
So much is Ronald Reagan's fault. Yeah, and McCarthy, but
the demon.
So, if we could talk about some theory for a second here.
Sure, I'm going to bow out because I don't.
No.
I'm make it seem like I know what I'm saying.
I use that term to preemptively make it sound like I knew what I was talking about, but I'm actually asking because I have no fucking clue. I know in a perfect country, in a perfect society, everyone's taken care of. There are no homeless. There are no starving. And I don't think the way to get there is straight up communism. I also know the way to get there is not straight up capitalism. Is there, in your opinion, unless you do think it's straight up communism, in which case that's fine, because this is a podcast and we talk about these things. Is there a way to get to a place where people are taken care of better than they are right now, yet still let people feel like they have equity in their in their lives, because the big hang up for me specifically is like personal property. Not necessarily private property, like owning 1,000 homes or anything like that, but personal property to me, like I want a fucking yard and I want to choose where I want to live. And that's one of those things that, like, you look at far left communist dictatorships where it's failed. It's like, no, you're a farmer now, and we're going to farm over here, and then millions of people starve to death. But is there a way in which, like, we can take care of our population at this scale of the United States of America and still, like, make people happy?
Well, if you want a more moderate form of that, then the Scandinavian system is one that can be looked at. To that, countries like Norway and Sweden and so on, they're not socialist by any means. They literally still have monarchies there. But they culturally and economically believe that if we're going to, be these wealthy nations, then the wealth of this nation should be going towards at least making people's lives better to an extent. Like Norway was blessed with a large amount of oil in the North Sea. And one of the things that they did with that is that they didn't privatize it, they nationalized it. And because of that, all the money that goes from the Norwegian oil goes into a thing called the Sovereign Crown Fund. And, that's billions upon billions of dollars. And all that is going towards basically the people in the end of the day. Now, there's questions about the efficacy of that with like climate change, but it's just an example of one thing they do to help the people there. So, basic things like universal health care, better public housing. And, that's just an option. If you want to live in public housing, good, you can live there. But if you want to, you can move out to a different place there. In general, just stopping companies from having large monopolies over certain things, as that's not good, because you can even make the argument against monopoly from a capitalist point of view, saying, well, monopoly
Right.
stifles
Yeah,
competition. This isn't good. The market can't work this way. If you have a monopoly,
exactly.
then you can't have any sense of competition. So you have to break those things up. In general, certain things should just be decommodified, in my opinion, because the less you have to think about, say, oh, I don't know, your rent or whatever, the more you can think about other things in your life. Take up a trade, take up a hobby, or so on. The less you have to feel stressed about getting just the necessities to living, the better you are going to be in your life. Now, of course, this all comes at the other big debate, is that, okay, yeah, countries like Norway and Sweden, all those like social democracies are good, but there's also the big conundrum that they also benefit from the cheap labor of people in the third world. And then you get into a whole different debate about whether or not that's ethical and what to do with that. You keep running into problem after problem. But in general, if we want to make things better here, I think, taking back the old kind of New Deal policies from the past and reintroducing them would be just automatically better for us. And that's not even really that radical.
I think that leftists tend to like have a pretty fierce debates on like the end state about like where they want things to wind up. But like where we are now, I think all of us have baseline agreements. Like, there shouldn't be monetary incentives behind housing or food or healthcare or things that, that we need to not die as human beings, right?
Yeah.
Well, even not even just among like leftists, but like, I'm a libertarian, and even between me and like broadly like leftists in general, there's a lot of stuff that I agree with. Because I don't want to be under the government's boot. I don't want to be under a corporation's boot either.
Right.
And so there's just like there's tons of common ground that like, if we can like get our heads out of like, in 100 years, where do we want to be? Like, okay, this month, like what kind of policies are we going to chase down?
I think considering we're like kind of staring down the barrel of fascism right now, like the arguments about where we're going to wind up in the ideal situation, I think is an argument for another time.
Yeah, right.
I think we need to work together to build a better now and a better future in our lifetimes. Because I don't know if I'm going to see like Star Trek communism in like my lifetime. Doubtfully, right? But like,
no.
Our goal as leftists is to try and make things as good as we can while we're around, right?
Yeah.
That's always been the work, right?
The whole point is to leave a better, generation, better off than we were, which is kind of the opposite of the boomer ideology of, good luck to you, assholes.
Me and it's mine. That's George Carlin.
And that's kind of how I find.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I find my friends. That's kind of what I look for, is like, I'm not like testing people on ideology, because, what I believe and what I do is not for everybody, but it's like, the fundamental difference is, do you believe in human rights, and do you want to like make the world better?
Yeah, I can work with a conservative who says, yeah, trans people are like what they are, and black people should have their rights. Look, as long as you believe in people should be able to live freely, I can work with you. We can debate on other stuff later, but until then, I'll work with you.
I agree, and I think there needs to be more bridge building like that. But like you said, it's we can compromise on certain things without compromising on others.
Exactly.
I will not compromise on basic human rights.
Of course.
You can disagree with a person's decision to go through gender affirming care, but that doesn't mean that you should outlaw their ability to do so.
Right.
Yeah. And I empathize with, and it's becoming fewer and fewer, but I empathize with the people who are genuinely scared for kids because they are so misinformed because of the sensationalist media that has them convinced that it's a legitimate threat to the majority of kids. And there's always a sliver of truth to these things.
Media.
There's a handful. Yeah,
There's another term for it. It's called propaganda, because that's what these news
100%.
channels are.
Manufactured
Like,
consent and all
could-
that.
if I could give an example, like in our state during the election, we had a proposition in our state called Prop 1, which basically was called the Equal Rights Amendment. It basically included a whole bunch of new things added into the protected classes, like women and their bodily autonomy, transgender people and gender nonconforming people, so on and so forth. And the whole thing was, okay, these people are now going to be protected by the state. So if you discriminate against them, you're going to be in trouble. Guess what the propagandists here basically said? They basically said they're going to put trans women in the bathrooms and in the football teams and stuff like that. They're going to take away women's rights. And that was the whole thing. It didn't work. It thankfully passed, unlike California, which voted to keep prison slavery. So, yeah, California, my ass. But yeah,
It's really unfortunate.
Yeah, immensely unfortunate. And that's what happened here. Thankfully, New York is, lib New York. So we had that pass through, and for the most part, we're probably one of the better states when it comes to being a sanctuary for LGBT people and women.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
That's our compromise, and our gun laws are shit because of that. What are you gonna do?
And it just like, it's so weird because, I believe really strongly that, like, if you disarm a population, that, it's going to be so much easier to subjugate them. And I can see that the right wants to disarm trans people broadly.
Right.
And I really struggle with, there's these places where, being pro LGBT is part of a culture war identity for the American left, not like the broad political spectrum left, but like Democrats, right? But so is gun control. And I think that there's going to come a time where they're either going to drop support for queer folks or they're going to drop support for gun control.
Right.
They're going to have some sort of like soul searching, and they're going to realize, like, it's gonna be one or the other. And I'm really afraid that they're gonna take the more conservative cultural approach.
Sadly, as we see it right now, there are some pundits that are trying to push the idea that it's the wokes, it was the transes that lost Kamala the election, which is complete horseshit. She barely talked about them, and it wasn't a point there. The right was going to talk about them no matter what. Don't give in to the right's positions on this, because it's complete horseshit. But these people are fucking cowards, and they'll do it no matter what.
I think that it's important to remember there's a difference between being peaceful and being harmless. Like, the threat of violence, of saying, like, I do have a gun that I can use if I have to, is sometimes enough. Like, well, there was like a drag queen story hour in Texas. Was that last year? Where there was a bunch
year or 2 years ago.
There's been a few.
There was going to be like
armed protests and counter protests.
Yeah, there was going to be a bunch of like far right people that were going to show up and disrupt it, and some Antifa people showed up in armor and rifles, and they stood outside.
That was the Elm Fork John Brown Gun Club.
Okay, right. And it was like that was enough to get them left alone, because like the kind of like appearance of the potentiality of violence is like,
I think
sometimes
another great example
in
of
itself.
Another great example of that was years ago. I can't remember the specific date, but there is a protest at Stone Mountain in Georgia, which is the place where the Second Klan was founded, and it's also has that giant, stupid fucking monument on it. And there's a bunch of neo-Confederates there. Basically, they were armed, but also there was a coalition of a bunch of left-wingers that were armed to the teeth as well. And not a single shot was fired. There was a bunch of people who stole Confederate flags from the other side, which was funny. But yeah, both sides were armed to the teeth. They marched, they faced each other down, and no one shot a single thing. Everyone there pretty much assumed that, okay, if someone lets off a shot, this is going to be a massacre. So let's all calm down a little bit and just keep things, kind of, I don't know, level-headed.
I see this direction we're going in now, where especially now, since the election, where our page has blown up. Like the rate of growth that we've had over the last couple weeks since the election, is like astronomical. And I hear the same thing about the liberal gun club. The SRA is probably feeling the same.
If I could give an example, like me personally, I vetted in like well over a dozen people into our chapter since the election, and I still have like just under 10 more people that I get a vet in, to schedule for that. So we have a lot of people coming in. And I would say more than half of them are queer and just around half of them are non-male. So it's certainly leading in a certain type of people into it that are afraid of the situation.
I never would have wanted it to happen this way. In a perfect world, people through rational conversation will come to the realization that gun ownership is a utilitarian like activity, and that it's for everybody. And just because you have a gun doesn't mean you have to go shooting people. It's just to have. It's like having an alarm system on your house or wearing a seatbelt.
So it's like having a fire extinguisher. You almost never need it, but when you need it, need it now, right now.
Exactly. And, I see this shift. Speaking of, what Andrew was mentioning earlier about whether or not at some point the Democratic Party is going to either drop the support for queer folks or guns. I see a lot of movement. I've seen a bunch of people, specifically from the queer community, talking about how they resent the Democratic Party because of their inability to budge on the gun ownership issue, and that they are specifically encouraging you as in the queer community, to remain defenseless in the presence of this encroaching fascist, this eve of fascism. They're saying, well, you still don't need a gun. I reshared a post from our local gun control group, Connecticut Against Gun Violence, who we've reached out to multiple times to have them on the show. And obviously, if our episode with Miriam is of any indicator, we could have a rational conversation with them. But they've never gotten back to us. They posted something the other day saying, essentially, we hear your fears, but they're unfounded. That there's no reason that you should turn to guns to protect yourself. And it just shows how out of touch these people are. Like it shows the immense amount of privilege that these groups must have. And listen, privilege isn't a bad thing. Privilege is a good thing, but you have to recognize that it is a privilege. So for you to be able to feel that way does not make it right to shame other people who do not feel the same way you do.
I think liberals make a bit of a categorical error when they think you don't need a gun because if you're in trouble, a policeman will come and help you, right? Mm-hmm. They have way too much faith in the police, which that's a whole conversation. But
liberals' whole ideology and religion essentially is this worship of institutions, and the fact that as long as the institutions stand there, then we're going to be fine. There's nothing to worry about. Well, what happens when those institutions have been compromised or just don't work for the people? Then I'm sorry, it's a contradiction here. These things either have to be completely reformed or you have to rely on yourself to keep yourself safe. And that's especially with the police. If you come from an African-American background, I can certainly see why you would not want to call the police, given the fact that these people are trigger-happy motherfuckers who will just shoot you for no reason. But certain liberals just can't understand that because they say, well, I've had no problems with the police, so why can't you people call them up? It's just a disconnect with these people.
They've had no problems with the police, but they've also never had any interactions with the police because they live in safe neighborhoods by and large.
As you can notice, I'm white, pretty white, and I've had run-ins with the police, and
You're
I
pretty.
obviously haven't been shot. So I've been able to talk with the police pretty decently. But if I were someone else, that could change the situation there. It's just a
Yeah.
simple thing like that. But certain liberals they'll pay like certain words to it's like, oh yeah, of course, police brutality, blah blah blah. But again, they just can't get it in their heads that it's the institutional part
So
of it that is
the
the
problem is
problem.
it's a faith thing, right? They have like complete faith in institutions working as intended. They assume that everyone else works in good faith, and that's why the right keeps steamrolling over them. I've had very
Yeah.
frustrating conversations with like liberal family members who I love dearly, but they're very deferential to like the mechanisms of like the justice system and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, but here we are living in an example where these things are compromised, and you need a contingency there. You can't just defer to the compromised system because then they'll just continue to do what they do, but worse and worse, right?
Yeah.
And we definitely don't want to feel like we have to throw everything away as soon as something doesn't work as intended. But we also never want to be in a situation where we have no recourse but to rely on the systems that are not working properly.
Of course, and in like ideal situations, I would love to handle things civilly, and I think civil discourse should be the default for as long and as much as possible. But like,
right,
it's kind of just like if someone's putting a gun to your face, like you like. Are you gonna like appeal to their better nature there? Like it's kind of a frustrating unwillingness to engage in anything outside the kind of the guidelines,
The gun is meant as the last course option. Sorry about me skipping there. So the fact that people are running to that, scatter of the mind says that something is fucking wrong here.
Yeah.
And unless you're going to, say something about it, don't complain about the fact that people are going to the gun. Try and focus on why they're going to it,
Yeah. 100%. We had this conversation with Miriam in the last a couple episodes ago. She asked us why has there been such a boom in gun ownership over the last few years, and I think a large part of it is historically underrepresented communities in the gun community have been buying guns and becoming gun owners because they're feeling less and less safe.
I mean, during the pandemic and the summer riots, who were the biggest percentage of people buying guns?
Yeah.
It was African Americans. They were the first time gun ownership. I mean, that exploded, and also that was one of our other points in the group where our membership exploded.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like I said, I wish we didn't have to get here through the means that we are currently in, but I also recognize things could be so much worse. We are still at a point right now where the way I see it is like people are not getting rounded up in the streets.
Yeah,
things
it could always
bad.
be worse.
It could always be worse. Things are bad, if you are somebody, or things have the potential to be bad. If you are a woman living in a red state that might lose her access to healthcare, or if you're a trans person that might lose their access to gender affirming care. There's, I recognize as a straight white cis dude that it's easy for me living in a blue state of all places to say like, yeah, it could be worse. But like there is still time. I posted something yesterday. It was just, my existential posting last night. It was of a polar bear staring out into the water. It said the all defeat until death is psychological, because there is always time to fix things. Until things are at the worst they could possibly get to, there's always time, and it's gonna suck. Struggle sucks, but struggle
so don't sit on your ass until things get too bad to the point you can't fix them. Organize and do stuff that you can right now. That's why we always tell people to join our group, essentially.
And it's not not even like big picture stuff. Like you don't have to become like some super soldier operator. Like just get to know your neighbors, like build a community, like like have people you can rely on when things go to shit,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're not telling people to go Ted Kaczynski and go into the woods and, start declaring war on society. You know, we technically we can't do that because we're an educational organization, of course. Yeah, we do not support militia activity here, just to tell people. So yeah, I mean, it's small things like join a community group if you can. Run for your local water board committee, or especially your school board. Run for your fucking school board, please. Don't allow these psychopaths to get into those positions. Don't let the book banners win here. I think we've seen in the past what happens when you allow shit like that. Things don't go well.
No,
for sure. Can we talk about the election for a second?
Sure.
Because
absolutely.
There's a thing.
Just a second though. Just for like 1 second. Just 2 sentences.
For 1 second.
It's fine. It's fine.
No, it's something I've been thinking about a lot because I needed to understand what happened, and I think what I've come to is that we live in a time where nobody trusts the institutions, like nobody, left, right. Everyone knows that like these things are not working for them, and the Democrat Party has consistently run as institutionalists. So they present themselves, even if kind of like objectively they would be better for everyone broadly, they present themselves as untrustworthy people. I think people want to be told a good story. Who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys? Like, who's messing with us and making our lives worse, and how can we fix it? And unfortunately, the only ones telling that story right now are the far right. Granted, they're lying. Like, immigrants aren't making your life worse. Trans people aren't making your life worse. I think, for leftists, politically, we're in a precarious situation, but rhetorically, we're in a unique position because we can tell those stories and we don't have to lie to tell those stories. We're telling the truth.
We're in a world right now that is craving populism. People are disconnected from power, and they want a semblance of someone that can reconnect them to that. And that's why Trump, for all of his, bullshitting or whatever, he has a certain charisma in a certain way that appeals to people. Whereas the Democrats run as this protector of institutional technocracy, blah, 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 whatever. So it doesn't even matter if the Democrats are better on union issues or whatever. It all doesn't matter, because when it comes to the president especially, we now have to admit that it really is vibes based, and people want a populist. That's why I would say, as much as it may sound stupid, unironically, run Jon Stewart in 2028 and he would win. He would fucking win, because he has the gift of the gab that could beat any right-wing populist that they put up.
Yeah.
And not to mention his
Trump
policies
apart.
are pretty decent as well, so that's another good thing.
Yeah, he is a shit lib on guns, unfortunately, but
sure.
But like, this is the thing.
Perfect.
Like, this is, we're at a point now where like things are more polarized than ever, and I think at this point we just need like a rational speaker.
Right.
I'm willing, I'm not willing to budge on gun laws, obviously, but I'm willing to. We're not at a point in our country where electing an anti-gun president is really going to do a whole lot to hurt our gun rights. It's just not. It's not going to happen with the way that things are right now. It's used in the same way that the Democrats had multiple chances to codify Roe v. Wade and didn't. Right. They'd much rather use it as a fundraising opportunity than actually solve the problem.
Yeah, the right has
we
been
know the
complaining
solve
that
the problem,
like the New World Order is going to be taking our guns. Like, how many decades ago have they
for
been
20
saying
years?
This? When the New World
20,
Order is
years.
real fucking lazy if it's been taking them this long to take away the guns and put us in the FEMA camps, Like, Jesus.
But it's a constant, so that's like one of those things where I am comfortable with a president who is a left version of Trump.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting into office, and I'll say like Jon Stewart is a liberal. He is a
capital
like,
L,
straight capital L liberal. But you look at him next to Kamala Harris, and like I would expect him to hold her accountable also for like that's
Kamala was so fucking weird. she's not even like what I think of as like a mainline liberal. Like that was him, like fucking Biden and Kamala together was such a weird ticket at a time. Right off of the heels
of the. I think it was a conciliatory thing, especially for Kamala.
I think what we're keying off here is rhetoric. Like, you like think about all of the times that everyone was energized for Kamala. It was like they're weird. We're not going back. When she did,
it makes me cringe. It makes me cringe.
When she did the debate with Trump, and she made fun of how people leave his rallies like halfway through, and it's all he talked about for like a month. That's when people were jazzed up, and then like you get all these advisors and staffers come in to like make her be generic, and all the energy gets sucked out of the room. People,
it's like, hey, we got an idea that will really, really get our base up. Say hello to Liz Cheney. You know, the people who even the right fucking
exactly.
Whoever,
no, I love that. No, fucking Waltz on Jon Stewart.
I'm sorry, but
being like, making friends.
Why don't you stop talking?
Making friends with Liz Cheney is throwing a bone to the libertarians.
Yeah,
what? Okay.
That's what he said.
No. Here's the thing.
Oh God.
Legitimately, whoever on her campaign or within the Democratic Party apparatus thought that was a good idea. I was gonna say something would get me in trouble, but all I need to say is that they need to get fucking fired immediately, because that is the square, just most stupid fucking idea I could think of. The Cheneys, the people who are reviled by both sides.
I just wish the DNC wouldn't constantly reward failure. Like the last two election cycles, Biden in 2020 and Harris in 2024, like Hillary Clinton was on as a consultant. Why? Yeah. She's a loser. Who cares what she thinks?
I'm gonna answer your question very succinctly.
Her strategy didn't win, so why would you take that? You know?
Because DNC they don't value results. They value the process. They value consistency and process. They don't care if you win or lose.
Oh, what? We're losing voters in Michigan? Oh, I have an idea. Let's send Bill Clinton over there to basically scold them. Yeah,
to kill the Palestinian voters.
Yeah, the guy who went on Lolita Express is the one who's going to be guilt tripping us about not voting for Kamala. Give me a fucking break.
I go down these like conspiracy rabbit holes every now and then where I think to myself, there is no way in hell that the Democratic apparatus of billions of dollars and think tanks is so incompetent to be able to lose an election so poorly that it has to be engineered to occur that way.
Never underestimate the power of just weaponized incompetency. It is amazing, you know?
I go back and forth.
Out of touch. They are so fucking out of touch. It hurts.
Yeah,
I mean, it definitely feels better to think that.
I don't know. I wouldn't agree that there's any kind of like controlled opposition or something going on. I like Smedley said, they're just out of touch. They're just kind of pathetic. They're it
definitely seems like the more reasonable option.
I hate having to bring the man up again and again in these debates, but Bernie was the candidate who could have, in a general election, brought people who don't vote or people who are not as into politics into that fray. You know, he was that one candidate who could have done it. He was the person that had that populist appeal, that kind of crotchetiness that was in like very fun and so on. He was the person that needed, but the Dems just would not have it. They didn't want it because even to them, social democracy is too far left of the dial for them, which is ridiculous.
More than that, Bernie was a guy that had not done his time the way that Hillary had done it. He was like an actual grassroots politician with real support from his constituents.
He beat his first candidate in, I believe, the mayoral run in Burlington by like one vote. And then he became a senator, and he just built up his portfolio year and year on. And just to show you his ability to like reach out to other people on the other side to get their votes, in the early 2000s, it was not uncommon in Vermont to both see Bernie Sanders for Senate and Bush Cheney signs on the same lawn. So that just kind of goes to show you, it's like, if this guy can convince these people to vote for him, then this is the guy who will convince the people who would have voted for Donald Trump to vote for him, because he's genuine in his things.
If you want like empirical evidence of this, you can look at like in-app data of small dollar donations in like the 2016 primaries.
Oh yeah, I've seen this.
Bernie sweeps almost the entire country, including hard red states.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're thinking like, why didn't Democrats who participated in the primaries get out and vote in the general election? What did what could anyone have done?
They operate on this delusion that having radical ideas will lose you elections.
But that's when the policies that you're up against are becoming more radical, you need to fight that by being apparently radical. You can't win against radicalism with milk toast. It's not going to work.
Well, so I don't necessarily
think
think
in the past at all. We look at the elections in Italy during the 1920s, didn't work. Yeah. We look at Germany, didn't work. You know, you need a radical
history on our side
that out. Yeah,
and I'm not even necessarily saying like, hey, okay, Trump's running again for president, so we need a far left communist to come in. And
you don't even need a communist.
I think if Kamala was openly condemning Israel, she would have secured significantly more votes.
Oh yes,
condemn Israel. Just stand by Medicare for all. Stand by those union policies that were good under Biden. And all that kind of stuff. And and also let Tim Walz speak more, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, people think this stuff is
Tim Walz. Listen,
people think this stuff is alienating, but time and time and again, the evidence points out this is the kind of stuff people want to hear.
Yeah.
And they just refuse to engage in it. It's infuriating.
Yeah. It is.
Walz,
you know.
I mean, sorry. You go.
No, you go.
I mean, Walz with like, one fucking vote in his state was able to push through free school lunches. He was able to make it a trans haven state, and so on and so forth. I mean, this is a man who got work done, and he's just a normal guy for the most part. But yeah.
Yeah,
I hear
you. There was a bit of a delay there. I think you lost connection at one point.
They're trying to get me. The system.
I know.
They're trying to silence you. They're pulling the plug.
You're good now, but you went silent for about 5 to 6 seconds, and then just came back with Trans Haven, and it was totally out of context. I try not to laugh.
His fit too strong.
70% of it.
There he goes.
They're going to be replacing me on the new InfoWars show, The Onion.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think
to be honest though, they're not going to be able to make as much ridiculous shit as when Alex was like the host of the show. But I give them, every bit of credit for buying that shit heap.
I want to frame this because I did vote for Kamala. I'm not the kind of guy who's gonna take
shit lib.
No, I know.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not gonna.
You literally are murdering Palestinians as we speak. Damn it!
I'm not the kind of guy that's gonna take.
Oh God, I shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't laugh at that.
That's look, it is what it is.
I'll take the milk toast over fascism every time because fascism's the worst possible outcome. It's just clearly. That's not a winner anymore, right? You can't just rely on people like me to carry you.
Vote for us because the other guy is worse. Well, you gotta explain to me why I should vote for you.
This is why I'm saying Democrats really struggle with telling a good story. Because they'll have people who don't understand things the way we're talking about it. And if they don't have a good narrative, they're just not going to show up,
Yeah. I think it worked for Trump and Biden because we just had 4 years of Trump. So saying, vote for me because I'm not what you just had.
And also not to mention we're just coming right out of, we're still in the pandemic, which Orange
There's 700,000 people died to COVID. Yeah.
Yeah. How many 9/11s is that? Fucking
it's more it's more deaths than I think everyone involved in the Vietnam War.
Hey guys, can we do some math real quick?
Well,
So there was a point in time where it was acceptable to start making 9/11 jokes. When do you think it's going to be acceptable to start making COVID jokes?
I don't
Let's
know
just
because
now.
keep in
Let's
mind,
this
go.
podcast today.
keep it. Look, here's the thing. Keep in mind, Gilbert Gottfried made a 9/11 joke 2 months after 9/11.
Oh, that was so good. So good.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm sorry I was late here. I had to catch a plane. I had to make a stop at the Empire State Building. And
Yeah.
that's where the term "too soon" came from.
Yeah.
And to
People still
redeem
laugh.
himself, he went into the aristocrats joke, which if
think-
that's the joke that saves you, I don't know what to say. But yeah, as for COVID
Yeah.
jokes, I mean, we are already making jokes about it as it was happening.
Yeah.
So
I listen, like as working as a first responder, we were joking about it during because I partially think it was a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
You know, we had
Yeah.
we had freezer trucks at our public works department full of bodies because the morgues couldn't take them at the speed that they were dying. So like,
Jesus.
I know that it was bad,
look,
but we were
with how
Yeah.
irreverent the culture is and how disconnected people are, I mean, we started making jokes about it as soon as it was happening. No one gives a shit about it. There's no sanctity about that.
I think
If
you know what I
9/11
wish-
were to happen now, I guarantee you people will be
Oh,
making
man.
fucking memes about it the day after. No, the minute
I will
of.
say Gen Z is it Gen Z or the Gen Xers? Which is the newest one?
Gen Z.
Gen X?
Well, Generation A, but Gen
Alpha,
Z is
yeah.
the
Oh,
one
okay.
that's more online. Gen A is still like babies, essentially.
Who's Gen X?
Gen X
are
is the
between
fucking
boomers and
like
millennials.
Oh, okay, never mind. The Gen Zers make me feel like the kids are going to be all right because some of the memes that I've seen, like this new era of memes, has been like it's the kind of memes that you can only share to certain people. Like you wouldn't post to your story unless you're you know not worried at all. I've been very impressed with some of the memes that I've gotten in my stash over the last couple of years, and
my
I
meme folder
wish-
is just a cesspit. But what's interesting about my meme folder is that you can definitely tell when they were added. Just like there's a whole section of like Ukraine war memes, and then there's a whole section of like COVID memes. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I can see what part of history this came from.
Yeah. It's
I
like
think,
a,
like,
it's like
I
a
think, like-
chronological timeline, like a
Like what
cutting
was your
rings through a
your
tree,
childhood trauma?
measuring rings
What
through
was
a
my
tree.
childhood trauma?
Yeah, no, I'm saying
Oh,
like
is that a
that's
rhetorical
like,
question?
No, that's like identifying that through the memes that you post.
Yeah.
I think like 90%.
Facebook remembers.
I think like 90% of comedy is like delivery, right? It's like
100%.
it's being able to tell like the correct joke at the correct time in the right way, and like because like I see people like, oh, you can't make like jokes about trans people or anything like that. But it's like I've seen like trans comedians tell jokes about themselves in the most hilarious way imaginable,
Yeah.
arguably in a more spicy way than like chud comedians do.
I think
it's
a lot of it-
entirely like the delivery, right?
Yeah. I couldn't do it because my delivery, I could hear a trans person make a joke about trans people and it would be hilarious. And then if I were to say it, it would sound like I was a bigot. Partially because I look like one. Partially
Yeah.
because I look like one, but like secondly, my delivery would not be the same. And I think a lot of it comes with the assumption that you're not punching down.
Right.
There's people who do joke about, like Bill Burr is a perfect example. Bill Burr can say like an arguably like a very edgy joke, but nobody really accuses him unless they're terminally online of being a bigot because they know they've heard him speak on certain issues and they know that he's not a bigot. So when he makes jokes about like he has a bit about the F slur, and I think it's objectively funny, and he's not being homophobic in it. He talks about how like if you were to use that to call a gay person, he'd beat the shit out of you. But it's a normal person could not make that joke and people laugh at it because they'd be like, it sounds like you just want to say it.
There's definitely like there has to be an understanding that you're not coming from a hateful place for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I love
funny.
when people.
It's just kind of funny with me with conservatives recently trying to take George Carlin as their own. It's like you listen to his stuff. He fucking hates.
So
Jesus
weird.
Christ.
There are multiple skits that he's made, basically saying, "I hate you people. I don't want you to associate with me." I mean,
Yeah.
that one just kind of blows my mind.
They're like keying off the one bit he had about like feminist magazines or whatever. And they're not looking at all the times where he talks about how much he hates Bush and how much he hates conservatives. It's like,
yeah, his bit on abortion is so fucking relevant to today. It's amazing. These people, they're never going to talk about it. They don't want to. They care about
these are the people that were like really disillusioned that Rage Against the Machine were leftist.
Yeah.
Like they didn't consider what machine they were raging against. They just
this is really important. This concept that like, so it's part of this like increasingly low information tribalism kind of vibe of the political division in this country, where like, so anything anti-establishment, when the other team is in power, they're like, that's my media, that's my entertainment, and they can't parse it in the context in which it was created. They can't like decipher the lyrics and like kind of glean like, what was he talking about? Who is he criticizing here? It's just like the most surface level interpretation of like, oh, they hate the government right now. The Democrats are the government.
Right.
I mean, Carlin made it pretty clear.
Never mind, the song was made in 1998.
Yeah.
It's like a shocking level of media literacy that goes on.
Like, there's a great moment that I keep referencing to people. When Carlin went on Bill Maher's real-time show, first and foremost, Bill Maher,
I know. What a disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, he was always an asshole, but he's just made it more apparent that he's an asshole. Anyways,
I know.
Carlin went on the show, and this is right after Hurricane Katrina. And they had a black woman on the show who was pretty cool. I can't remember her name, sadly. And they had this like shitbag from some like right-wing publication basically defending the Bush administration. And then Carlin basically just said, it's not a surprise that rich white people do not give a shit about poor black people. And then he would go on to say that the Bush administration is a criminal fascist gang. And the right wing guy was like, "Oh, Bill, what are you saying?" And George Carlin was going on about class, and the right wing guy said, "Well, what are you, Marx all of a sudden?" And it's like, oh my god, are you this fucking stupid, man?
I can't believe I've never heard that.
Yeah, no. Type up Bill Maher, George Carlin, real time Hurricane Katrina, and you should be able to find it. It's just very funny. I mean, Carlin, I would say, was probably an anarchist by the end of his life, especially with how grumpy he was. But he certainly hated certain people more than other people. I can certainly say that.
I had this conversation the other day because I was talking to somebody about how I forget what I commented on Instagram, but I was talking about how like it was a meme about how tariffs were essentially going to kick us all in the balls.
Oh, Christ.
And I said, like, it's funny that all the Trump voters are complaining about the meme, but none of them can explain how a tariff works.
Right.
And I said Trump voters specifically, not conservatives, because I think there's a difference between like a Trump fan and a typical conservative. It's a smaller and smaller.
It's funny. There's like a cult of personality there for sure.
Yeah. If there's, and I'll go as far as to say anybody or most people who wear political merchandise out in public, especially when it's not an election season, are people I typically would not want to associate with, regardless of whether it's for the blue or the red.
It's probably a safe bet.
Because at that point, it's like a personality, and you're not going to be fun to hang out with, and you're certainly not going to like me.
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes wear kind of politically coded stuff out there, but it is.
Is it like blue team or
I
red
think he's
team?
talking
No,
about
not
coded
like that. I
nice.
have that. I think you know what it is. It's the Protect Trans Kids shirt with like the Bowie.
Oh no, I'm not talking about that.
He's talking about like
because,
election
it's a very
time,
shirt, and I like
Trump or Kamala stuff.
No,
specifically candidate focused stuff.
No,
I wear political stuff like that all the time. Like that's To me, that's just
I
like the
remember I
world we
was
live
in
in.
DC many years ago at a climate change march, and we were also there for a few days to have kind of a vacation out of it to go to DC. And me and my parents were walking about, and we saw a bunch of like teenagers buying Trump hats or whatever. And I just said to my mom, "Hey, look, it's the little Hitler youths out there," and she like, you can't say that. It's like, why not? Why are you yelling at me? You know I'm right.
Actually, you're
Why are
left.
you booing? I'm right.
Why
Yeah,
are you
exactly.
booing?
That's
Right,
the
yeah.
that's the meme.
Your
I'm
boos mean
referencing.
nothing to me. I've seen what makes you cheer.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing. Like that's the mentality that I've come to take on, like running the A Better Way 2A page, because I used to take everything far more personally, and until I realized that
Bad thing
the
to
vast
do.
majority. Oh yeah. Well, but ask Andrew. Like I would have like rough days.
Oh yeah,
in our
rejection
messages.
sensitive dysphoria is very strong sometimes.
Yeah, because the second somebody says something, completely opposed to what my intentions were, I wonder, is that how I'm being perceived? And perception means a lot to me, because people's perception is reality. It doesn't matter what your intentions are. If somebody sees you as something, that's what you are to them, especially nowadays where it's so hard to convince people otherwise. So, I would take things super personally and say like, am I doing this wrong? Like, how should I do this? And beneficially though, like it also helped me. I reached out to a ton of people to double check to make sure that I wasn't actually being a piece of shit. And it's actually helped me build a ton of really good relationships. But yeah, since then I've just taken the whole like, if you're a piece of shit and I'm upsetting you, that's fucking great. Like,
Yeah.
I'm clearly doing something right.
I'm like, not to blaze you guys too hard here, but I do like really respect what you folks do, because yeah, right, because like it's so easy to fall into the trap of like doing like chud merchandise, like Trump engraved 1911s and shit like that. And the fact that you guys
Yeah.
don't do that, I really respect, because like that's easy money, right? Like
1776 will commence again, blah blah blah, whatever.
yeah, exactly.
But then again, there's like 1.5 million other brands like that, so quite frankly, it's boring,
Sure.
Yeah.
And it just I have
you.
said this many times about Jordan, that if he just wanted to make money, like a shit ton of money really quick, there's much easier ways to do that.
There's better grifts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
yeah. I was just talking about this with the folks from Off Color Decals, actually, because
we're actually going to be meeting them in the winter.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Stop the Bleed class,
Mm-hmm.
which is good. Yeah. I've been in contact with them for a while, but I've never actually met them personally, so it's going to be nice seeing them for the first time.
I just met them. They've printed our stickers since the beginning, pretty much. Yeah, they're fantastic people.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say enough good about them. But yeah, we were just talking about it, how like if we wanted to, we can make an ultra right, Etsy, not Etsy probably at this point, but like a conservative store, and just it would be great to just grift, take money from them and then donate it to charities, like to leftist.
Just say like nonsense right wing slop, and then just
but just donate the proceeds to like Planned Parenthood and stuff. And
this is the covert.
I'm sure you get nailed on like deceptive marketing or something. It's a good idea though.
Maybe.
Why? Because at that point, it's just your money. What you choose to do with your money is.
We'll take some cheap steel, put them in a nice like box or whatever, and then spray paint like Trump rules on it. It's like, okay, level 4 plates for sale, $200.
I'm surprised no one's done that yet.
I'm pretty sure. I think there was one person who tried doing that.
There's
like shit plates.
There's like TikTok plates that 100% will kill you. Like that grift is real.
Look here, I'm gonna pay you $50 just to shoot yourself, and you'll save you like $100 more. I don't know. Also, speaking of like ads, I've been getting ads for like some new like flexible body armor from a bunch of like gun tubers or whatever, and they're just shooting them. It's like, oh look, nothing's going through. I don't know if any of you guys have been getting those ads or whatever. Okay, it's
No.
mostly on YouTube, so unless you watch YouTube a lot, you're not getting them, I guess.
I finally, after years, subscribed to YouTube Premium because I was tired
Jesus.
of watching. Dude, I hated it. I hate it. I hate that I've been
Welcome to the premium room.
forced to do this. And then immediately after, Amazon Prime starts showing ads on movies now.
I have a potential solution, but I don't know if I'm allowed to mention it on the podcast here. So.
We'll edit it out if it's too spicy.
I feel like I know what you're about to say, and I've also joked about that specific thing. I'm like, yeah.
We prefer copyright reform activism. It's a form of direct action. It's political speech, actually.
Yeah, right. You wouldn't download a gun, would you?
Yes, 100%.
It's my property to do nothing with, and I'm gonna do nothing with it forever.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo. I would absolutely download a gun, though, if I could, but sadly, my state would send policemen to my door.
Same. I would love to just like
Smedley, did you see they were trying to like get background checks for buying 3D printers going in our state?
Yes. It was last year, right? Last year?
No, it was earlier this year. There was like a local politician.
Keep in mind, we now have to do background checks just to buy fucking ammunition in the state.
Don't get me started.
So it's basically just a tax on ammo.
I will get you started.
We've started. We've started an hour and 38 minutes ago.
Yeah, we should probably start the podcast, huh?
Oh yeah, you guys want to start the episode?
Oh shit. I was also gonna say, like, it doesn't really matter because some of our members will just go down to Pennsylvania to buy ammo and body armor and not worry about that, just bring it back up. But for those of the people who don't want to travel down there, it's like, oh great, I got to pay the extra fucking tax on this. That's fun.
Yeah, you're paying more either way.
How's the law work? So obviously, if you go to out of state to buy a gun that doesn't require a permit and you own it in your state, that's illegal.
Yes.
But if it's like a banned gun, if it's a banned gun,
yeah.
If you because if you were to buy a pistol that was legal in your state in another state, there'd be no law broken there, right?
Well, you need a pistol permit to own a pistol in New York. So if you had a pistol in New York and no permit, it would be illegal.
No. Yes, but say if you have a pistol permit in New York and you go and buy a gun in Pennsylvania. Oh yeah, I'm asking a stupid question. I'm overanalyzing.
Federally,
I think you would have to list it on the permit, but that would be it. If you have a permit, you can have a pistol.
This is a problem even earlier than that. Federally, you can't buy a handgun outside of a state that you have. Like if you don't have residence in that state, you can't buy a handgun there, and you can only buy long guns in, I think, adjacent states.
Are you sure?
Yeah. You have to have residency in the state that you're buying a handgun in.
Oh, okay. But what about a long gun? It has to be an adjacent
long gun.
state?
I think it's adjacant. It may.
I don't think you're right because
different.
I'm not gonna say that on the podcast.
Yeah, I may be wrong about the long gun thing, but I am sure about the handgun.
I think you're wrong about the long gun thing.
What I do know is with like armor, you're not legally allowed to purchase or take possession of it in New York. But if you purchase and take possession outside of New York and bring it to New York, that's legal. Because possession in itself is not illegal. Although there has been a push to just make possession illegal. So if a cop raids your house and they see you have a plate carrier, that would be like a felony.
Yeah, that's all because of the fucking Buffalo shooter and all that. It's like, instead of focusing on the problem of Nazism and that shit, no, let's just ban body armor.
Yeah, because if there's no body armor, there's no Nazis,
the sacrificial lamb in that case.
Like a Nazi that wants to shoot up a bunch of innocent people is going to give a shit about the law.
Well, that's conversation that we have all the time. Is the laws are clearly not working to stop these people from doing that because they don't care. I hate to beat a dead horse, but murder is illegal.
Yes.
It feels so.
What is that? I can't
remember.
Some politician posted.
Here.
Some politician posted on Twitter at some point, like, when you're hunting ducks, you can only carry, you can only have 3 rounds in your shotgun magazine. It's amazing that ducks have more legal protections than children in our schools.
Oh my god!
Like, buddy, you can't hunt kids with shotguns or ARs. That's the ultimate legal protection.
I think the problem we run into is that like
holy shit.
These aren't like the kinds of social issues that you can just legislate away with a stroke of a pen. There's like systemic problems that aren't being addressed that lead to these sorts of behaviors.
Yeah, of course. There's a systemic issue that ends up convincing somebody to end up in a chat room with 16 FBI agents planning to kill to kidnap the governor of Michigan.
There's on a more
no, I agree 100% though.
On a more self-harm end of things, like there's so many like Americans that blow their brains out every year. Are we not going to talk about why? Is it just like
it's
the
just
gun
because
that's the
they own
problem
guns,
there, or
okay?
is it like
it's just the fact that they own guns? Don't question it. Don't question it.
This is something
we're not
that I
going to address
constantly
like the kind of deeper ennui that's happening there, like.
Yeah, this is a question that I've proposed to gun control advocates, and I've never been able to get a straight answer out of. Is if gun ownership it equals danger, and you are at higher risk to kill yourself, why is it that similar guns per household countries in Europe have significantly lower suicide rates than we do? Yeah, so like almost every house has a gun, which means there's at least one way to kill yourself for multiple family members in each household. But I think it was some astronomically low number. It was like 1 or 3 firearm suicides one year. Meanwhile, we have 16,000.
Yeah,
Why is that? If you could answer that, then I think we'll also find an answer for a lot of the other numbers.
and I think there's also a lot of like misunderstanding of like in play with statistics. Like, they'll say like owning a gun increases like the likelihood of like death in the household. And it's like, well, yeah, that's kind of like how having things in the presence of you happens, right?
Yeah,
driving a car significantly increases your likelihood of getting in a car accident.
Or having a pool in your backyard,
eating a burger significantly increases your chance of heart disease. I was just about to say,
consistently eating cheeseburgers is going to be far more dangerous than owning a gun.
Like that's just like welcome to being alive and being around things.
Yeah.
Like,
because one eventually will kill you, the other one won't.
Jordan, this episode might be lost now to the great bumblefuck. But have you had a bit from one episode where it was just the two of us, where you're like, we were joking about how like not having knives reduces your chances of getting stabbed, not having pools reduces your chances of getting drowned, and you were like, not having a blender in your house reduces your chances of getting fed into that blender bit by bit until you're completely liquefied.
Yeah, by a serial blender killer. Yeah.
One of my favorite websites.
I remember that.
Yeah,
one of my favorite websites is
your community reduces your chances of getting serial murdered by X amount %. But whatever. I mean, Jesus.
One of my favorite websites is a site called Spurious Correlations. And it's like just taking two completely random things that have nothing to do with each other and seeing like that they statistically line up on a chart. Like one was like the purchase of grated cheese over this period of time correlated with the like the death rate of people being suffocated by their own bed sheets. It's like stuff like that.
Also, let's not forget, in hard to get a gun country, Japan. Oh, wait a minute. Am I still? Uh-oh.
You're good.
I can hear you.
Sorry. Yeah. Let's not forget, in a hard to get a gun country like Japan, that didn't stop some fucking madman from offing off their prime minister
with
a
fucking
jury-rigged gun.
Yeah, that gun
an electrically fired.
That was a Fallout ass gun. Can I read some of these spurious correlations?
It's also funny, just on a side note, that after people learned why he killed them, everyone was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense."
Yeah.
Can I read you guys some of these spurious correlations? Because
let's hear.
you've reignited. I remember this website. It was like back when there was a website to find random websites. This was one of the
I remember.
websites that you
What
could
was
find
that?
on that.
Stumble Upon, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my god, I totally forgot about that.
Yep,
I used to
Stumble Upon.
love Stumble
Me too,
Upon.
me
Holy
too.
shit!
She's my
And then it just
jam.
left. It just left.
I'm guessing
It was an
Oh.
app.
did people just keep getting porn sites or something? And that's why they had
No,
to take
you
it
could
down?
you could make it like you could. I
It's
think you could.
curated to
The
whatever you were
default's
looking
to safe for
for.
work, and then you could
Okay.
crank it up from there.
Yeah, yeah, but it was amazing. I would find
When the internet
such
wasn't
cool
controlled by
websites.
like 4 corporations.
Yeah. Oh my god, that was so good. Yeah, so this one is the popularity of the first name Johnny also correlates with burglaries in New Hampshire. From
I mean, listen.
1985 to 2020, the number of babies named Johnny has decreased significantly, and also the burglaries in New Hampshire decreased at the same rate. Here, hold on.
Listen,
I forgot I
they
could do
like
this.
the right's talking about immigrants. We got to watch out for Johnny. Apparently,
Yeah. I was about to say something bad as well. Okay.
Yeah, it literally follows it. It literally follows it to a T. You've got this little jump here in 2010 where the burglaries shot up a little bit. Johnny.
That must have been
names,
one
continue-
particular Johnny just working too hard.
This
Yeah.
must be the site where all these fucking racists get their data on like
Oh,
race and
100%.
crime stuff.
oh yeah, the Johnny.
That
You
one's-
know,
popularity of the first world problems meme correlates with Google search for zombies.
First world problems.
Oh, zombies was what a first world problem.
See,
that
this is my plan. If the zombie apocalypse happens, no one cares.
there
The
was like
distant- oh my
there was
God.
one of my favorite memes on that was like, it was like a shot of The Walking Dead or something like that, where they're all standing on a car and there's like a sea of zombies. And there's an arrow pointing to the people on the car saying where you think you are, and then it points to a random part in the crowd going where you actually are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy shit,
Oh,
this
wow.
would be
yeah.
horrible for the economy.
Yogurt consumption and the popularity of the first name Ella.
That's right.
Guys, I'm gonna link this in the show notes. You have to go to this.
I'm glad I
various
reignited
correlations
this in you.
Oh
I
my
like
god!
I like
yeah.
that they've got the ChatGPT justification below it.
Oh,
The-
stop!
oh my god! All right, we'll do one more and then let's see. Master's degrees awarded in journalism correlates with the gender pay gap in the U.S.
Oh, I
It's like,
knew
what?
those fucking journalists were fucking bourgeois.
Wait, is there a way that you can like search? Is there a way that you can search for specific ones? I thought there was. Oh, total number of successful Mount Everest climbs correlates with the hot dogs consumed by Nathan's hot dog eating competition champion.
Jesus Christ!
As
in
more
one
people
year, there was
climb-
just a giant fucking uptick from one guy.
Look at that. That's awesome.
I think we should
All right,
build a policy around this, honestly.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's data to support it. So, wow. Well, that's awesome. Yeah. If you're listening at home, we just showed that on the show on the
Yes,
YouTubes.
podcast,
But,
the great known visual medium.
Yeah.
I saw this thing the other day. It was like, yeah, I did an analog podcast with the boys.
Yeah, raw dog the
we
podcast.
just raw dogged the podcast. We
Oh.
just sat there and talked for 3 hours. What was that?
I
Oh,
don't
War's
know.
a Racket? Nice.
Yeah, well, that's where I get my name from. What do you expect? I also have
Yeah,
the.
I know Smedley Butler. That
I
was
also-
drilled into us in boot camp.
Yeah, I also have the version that has a foreword by Jesse the Body Ventura. Unironically,
Yes.
I would vote for him for president.
Yeah. Jesse Ventura is one of the most based.
Yeah, no, I love Jesse. He's only gotten better as time has gone on.
I was in the U.S. Navy SEALs. I saw the kinds of things that America was doing. Yeah, he was great.
I know
love
that Vince McMahon was a loser from the beginning, all right?
Wow, that was good. That was good.
I love Jesse. He's pro-Ukraine. He's pro-Palestine. He's he didn't buy into the whole Trump bullshit.
Jesse-
which is good.
Jesse
I didn't know
Ventura-
this.
Jesse Ventura rules. He was
Jesse
once
Ventura-
very
oh, sorry, go ahead.
popular in libertarian circles, but now, unsurprisingly, has been alienated.
That's
Yeah, I
unfortunate.
mean, when he was governor of Minnesota, he visited Cuba and there are pictures of him and Fidel Castro standing next to each other. And it's like,
Je-
all right,
Jesse
good.
Ventura is
Anyone
like-
who's against this bullshit fucking embargo is a good person, in my opinion.
He's the kind of person. He's like the great example of someone that I probably wouldn't agree with on everything, but I could work with him. You know?
Oh, certainly. I probably wouldn't agree with everything he says about like conspiracies, but I would certainly love to have a beer with the guy.
Yeah, like
Let's
he
get Jesse
seems like
Ventura
a
on this
reasonable
podcast.
person with like.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
if you bring him on, I gotta be here. I would love to
Yeah.
be in his
Oh, man.
presence.
ABW2A
That would be
roundtable with Jesse
Sure,
Ventura.
that's your magnum opus. If you get Jesse Ventura on the podcast, you have to end the podcast. It's not going to get better
Yes,
from there,
yeah.
right?
That's the peak.
No, it's all downhill from there. Absolutely. I wonder who our magnum opus so far was, but I don't want to say it here because I don't want everybody else to feel bad. I don't know who it would be.
The SRA, obviously.
Yeah.
No.
Well, specifically the Northern New York chapter of the Upstate New York chapter of the SRA.
What do you see, Ghost?
All,
Oh, nothing. I was looking at one of the posters I had there.
Oh, okay.
It's like, did they find you?
yeah.
Don't question it. I have some
Swatted.
protection here.
Not a whole lot.
I'm not going down without a fight. It may not be much of a fight, but it will be one.
God, my dog just
Yeah.
ripped ass. I thought she took a shit in here.
Oh yeah, yeah. We definitely need to know that, bud. It's like, hey, I just got back, just took a massive shit. We don't need to know that.
On that, thank you guys for coming on the show. Clearly, we're out of material.
Always
God damn
supporting
it.
the podcast here.
My dog just took a huge smelly shit.
Oh, man.
Oh Christ!
Anyway, we're the Upstate New York chapter of the SRA.
Join your local chapter. Yeah, join your local
Yeah.
chapter. I was gonna say it doesn't cost you a thing, but actually it does cost you money. But hey, you gotta pay. For
It's
stuff
cheap
in this
though,
life.
right?
It's $35 a year, or $10 or $5 a month. Depends on what you want to pay. So
Costs you a lot less than losing your gun rights.
exactly, join.
Right, there you go.
Get yourself into a decent community to shoot with, and sadly, we can't give people free guns here, but you'll at least get some experience.
Yeah, for sure.
We can't
Um,
give you free guns.
Yet,
But I can give you free experience.
I will say, if there is some anonymous millionaire/billion out there who wants to give us money, we will take it. As long as there are no strings attached, we will take that money. All I have to say.
I mean, honestly, I would
But
take
what
it
are you
with some
expecting
strings
me
attached.
not to use it? It's like, no, I'm not going to take, out of principle, I can't use it. Fuck that. I'll take whatever I can get as long as
for
there's no
sure,
strings
for sure.
attached.
I'm okay with some strings, to be honest. I'm at that point in my life. I'm okay with some strings.
You've reached that.
As long as there's
no.
not video of it. As long as there's no video. 'Cause I have a daughter who's gonna grow up
There's
one day.
video of everything.
I know
bud.
this guy.
I know.
I know this guy named Edward Gregorian. He could probably hook you up.
Who's that?
I don't know.
You don't know about that? The tenant media
Is that
thing?
the Lord of War guy?
That was the Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, all those people.
Oh, the fake Russian guy that those idiots.
Oh,
A bunch of money from like this Russian guy who was posing to be as someone else to basically push like pro-Russian or American destabilizing propaganda.
Yes. I
Nah,
do remember that.
That just goes to show how fucking like innocuous it is that I completely forgot who it was. Oh, Christ.
Any day where Tim Pool gets made to look like a fool is a good day.
So
I mean,
every
that's
day.
pretty much every day.
Yeah, I know, but
Hold on.
at his own expense,
Have you
where
guys-
he's like, oh,
Have
fuck.
you guys seen pictures of him without his beanie on?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dude, it's like
He
clear
just
he's
needs-
really. It's like whatever, but like it's clear he's like really insecure about it. Like
Yeah, his head just looks super weird. Super weird, bud.
As somebody with a weird head, I can
Yeah.
empathize. Anyway, guys, normally we end this podcast with a little tradition here, where we ask you if you were to give a piece of advice to people, because there's two of you, feel free to do it individually. It doesn't have to be gun related. It doesn't have to be related to the SRA. But if you had a piece of advice for folks, what would that advice be?
Just anything. Think something you think people are sleeping on that they got to know.
oh
A
yeah,
little nugget of wisdom.
go ahead, Smedley. I gotta think about this.
I was just about to say Yuko. I'm still thinking, to be honest.
Listen, I don't have my
Alright, I'll
life
go,
together. I don't have any
fine.
advice for you.
So you're saying it doesn't have to be gun related. It can be anything.
It could be gun related. It doesn't have to be gun related.
I guess like I think like the life's too short, right? Like I think you need to like focus on things that bring you joy in life, right? Like there's a lot of human misery comes from people feeling like they don't have like a direction or a goal, but like you gotta take pleasure in the little things because like you can't count on the world always being like a bright sunny place, right? There's people who have it way worse than us in the world that still manage to find some little joy in their life, and you have to be able to continue on. You have to be able to do that. That could be
love that,
family,
man.
that could be friends, that could be your hobbies or your little comforts at home. But you got to have something that keeps you going.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good one, Smedley. You've got big shoes to fill. Hopefully yours doesn't suck.
No pressure.
Basically, my recommendation is find a place to physically buy this book with cash.
Yes.
It's a very funny book. It's got a lot of fun stuff in here. Censor, that's when I do put this up because this is a joke. My recommendation.
It's not a joke. I literally sell that book on my website.
Okay, yeah, but just for our sake, probably don't show that. Jokes aside,
Okay.
yeah, jokes aside, join your local SRA chapter, get to know some folks. You know, especially if you're in a place where you don't have a lot of people and you want a community to talk about stuff like this too, you know, we're open. And hey, if you have the tenacity to do it, set up your own chapter if you can. Just find some other people that are interested. And that's pretty much about it from me. I'm glad that you guys had us on. It was definitely a fun time. We probably derailed a train more than Amtrak ever has. So
No, that's where the show thrives.
Have that effect. So I'm not gonna even blame you for that, Smedley.
There's a train. There's a page I follow. I think it's a train out of Florida, called like the Bright Line or Bright Wheel or something like that. Where it just posts this page run by a person posts whenever it hits a person, and it just it's like
okay,
Bright Line hit another fucking person, and like that's the name. That's the poll post.
That reminds me of a YouTube channel that just posts whenever a bridge like peels off the top of a truck.
12'9" or 11'9", whatever it's called.
The city I live in has a bridge but the city I live in has a bridge that's similar to that. It's destroyed at least 100 trucks in its history, and it's 100-0. It's undefeated.
It's a veteran. It's a veteran bridge.
The bridge does not come down.
No, there's no end to human stupidity, and unfortunately, all of that drives. Most of them drive.
Yeah. Hey, well, no, but seriously, thanks so much for having us on.
Yeah,
I bought one of your IFACs. I think that's great. I love what you guys do.
Oh, shit, yeah.
I bought multiple swag from you guys too, so I'm a customer. So
I'm gonna say
much appreciated.
I say this all the time. I'm gonna say it again here on the podcast. 99% of the work of A Better Way 2A is Jordan. I literally just help with the podcast.
You help more than that though. You've got your emotional support more than you know.
I also buy a lot of stuff from the store.
Yeah, he also buys like everything. He's got I've never seen him wear like a Better Way 2A shirt. It'll be a random.
Yep.
It'll literally be like a random video he'll send me of his kid, and in the corner of the picture, I'll see he's got A Better Way 2A logo on his shirt.
He's becoming a walking billboard.
I am.
Yeah. If you guys ever want to have
the ever smaller billboard, every day I see him.
It's like if you
guys,
because
you go
what? It's just a stupid joke.
Don't worry about it.
Because he's losing weight, so they said he's a ever smaller billboard.
Billboard.
Less and less.
Shrinking billboard. I'm getting less and less for my money.
It's like a NASCAR driver, but all of his ads are just Better Way 2A stuff all over him.
Yeah, yes, 100%.
Rip Dale
Andrew, I love you. I literally said Our chat, we have a Signal chat. Can I I'm gonna minimize this so it just oh well never mind, it shows your last name. We literally were like I said Smedley, you were talking at one point and Andrew spoke over you for like 4 seconds straight and would not give up. So I was like, try not to literally talk over him. And he goes, I think I have a delay. Sorry. And I said, you're great. And he goes, you're fantastic. I just said, I love you. And he sent me, what? No. Yeah, we're just constantly.
I'm not like that, man.
Constantly
Maybe bye, but I just met you, okay?
Yeah, all right, dude,
Oh, Lord.
come on, at least take me to dinner first, all right?
No. I like food, but
No.
I'm not being entrapped by this.
No, I was saying I love Andrew in
Oh,
the, in the
okay,
chat, but it's literally just
My
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't gonna correct
mishearing.
you. I thought I liked where this was going.
No,
Yeah.
you bastard. Jesus.
just two dudes supporting each other.
Just the two
you know?
gays in the podcast to make it all about them, huh?
Oh man, next thing you know, you're gonna want your own month too.
Oh, right?
I think they should have 2 months.
I think
they
they
should
should
have
just
double
piss
the
off
right.
people
International
who don't like-
Podcasting Awareness Month.
Yeah,
Podcasting
that is
awareness
also
month?
that's the second Pride month.
I'm actually a podcast American.
It's like not
You're a
entirely
podcast
wrong.
No, I posted this thing the other day. I tagged like our last 4 guests, including Miriam Abul Fazli, who like laughed at it. It was it's a sign of respect in white man's culture when they invite you on their podcast.
Yeah, I like that.
If I
That's
wanted to
good.
show respect, I would have worn my best polo and slacks to this, but sadly I had to keep my identity.
No, actually,
Yeah.
I like the camo better. It's more formal in this context.
mm,
Yeah, it is. It's like a suit, really.
yeah, if I wanted to
Um,
do it really good, I would have done this outside, but it's a little cold, so
Yeah, just
Yeah,
like,
Yeah,
it's
it is
whatever.
chilly.
just
It
like
is
a
chilly.
shot of nature, and then like at the very end, you just like emerge from the bushes in your ghillie suit.
He's been
I
talking the whole
was- I was
time,
more
but it's like
thinking
one of those
I
like
pull up the green screen and it just shows that I'm in my room the whole time.
Oh yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Oh.
I imagined it as like one of those like find the sniper pictures, you know, like where it's like a landscape and you're looking for the sniper who's in a ghillie suit somewhere or some kind of camo, but it's Smedley talking to us on a podcast, just in the prone for 2 hours straight in the woods, and he pops up at the last minute. Anyway, on that note, we were supposed to end on the dog fart. Now we had the actual conversation.
Good.
I
thank
can talk about
fucking
my
God.
dog fart again.
Don't.
I still smell it.